Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and this is our first run review of the New Balance FuelCell SuperComp Trainer. So the SuperComp Trainer is a max stacked daily trainer with a carbon plate in it. It goes beyond maximal stack, in fact, it's fair to say, and it's designed to be used in partnership with the other new SuperComp shoes that are coming out from New Balance. There's the Pacer, which we've reviewed on the channel, which is a lower stacked short distance racing shoe, and the upcoming SuperComp Elite, which will be the kind of successor to the RC Elite 2 line, which is a big, well-cushioned carbon plate long distance racing shoe. This is designed for training, and part of the reason for that is that its stack is actually too high to race in legally. It's got a stack height of 47mm at the heel and then 39 at the forefoot. So it's got an 8mm drop and a stack at the heel that's 7mm above the World Athletics legal limit. It's very expensive. It's £210 in the UK or $180 in the US. So obviously a mad conversion. The US are getting a much better deal on that front. It's reasonably heavy. It weighs 307 grams in my UK size 9, which is 10.8 ounces. So in a way, it's the spiritual successor to the, I think, very underrated FuelCell TC, which was, a high stacked, very soft, cushioned training shoe with a plate from New Balance, but they never seem to really push it or release a proper successor to it. So it's a bit of a shame because we love that shoe. Tom's a huge fan of that shoe in particular, but now we've got this instead, which is a super high SuperComp trainer. It'll obviously be compared to things like the Adidas Prime X, which has an even higher stack. We haven't actually tested that shoe, so we can't say too much ourselves, but yeah, big beefy shoes that go above the World Athletics limit now are starting to appear from more brands. All the key features of the shoe are in the midsole. You've got that huge stack of New Balance's FuelCell foam, very soft, very springy foam. You've got a curved plate, carbon plate, that runs through the foam. It starts quite high at the heel and then digs deeper into the foam as you hit the forefoot. And obviously you've got this very, very pronounced rocker shape you've got going on here to try and make this huge stack of cushioning work. So the whole thing combines New Balance's Energy Arc technology. You can see the carbon plate on the bottom there. Yeah, full length carbon plate runs through the whole shoe and it sits quite high at the heel, and that creates a not too soft feel if you're landing on your heel there, because obviously there's a danger of this much soft foam that it'll be unstable and mushy at the back, but the slightly higher positioning of the plate there does remedy that. It doesn't feel overtly soft when you land there, as I do. There's also got some other features as well to try and make it more stable given the high stack. It's got a very wide base, which you'd expect. This huge midsole cutout on the bottom of the shoe there encourages your foot to go to the middle of the foam there rather than supinating or pronating too much. And then the foam, you've got some kind of sidewalls on the side here. It doesn't actually run up that high. Your foot sits within the foam a little bit to try and create a bit more stability with this very high stack. You've got a pretty minimal upper, really, all round. It's a fairly thin mesh upper. The tongue's got no real padding on it. It's got a slight booty style design going on, and then the heel is reinforced, as you'd expect, to give it a bit more stability again, but there's not a vast amount of cushioning inside the shoe there. It's just a good structured upper that does hold the foot quite tightly, but it's quite minimal to try and keep the weight down when you're adding so much weight in the midsole, I guess. And then the outsole, it's actually got fairly decent coverage of rubber. It kind of runs along the sides of the shoe. So you see this rubber here, and there's a bit of exposed foam in the middle, and then there's rubber here, and then the two strips of rubber at the back. There's even actually a little bit of rubber on the carbon plate, which I don't think I've seen before, such as the size of the cutout here that had to do that. But there's still a bit of exposed foam there, so there's a chance obviously that'll get chewed up a bit as we test it more, but can't say too much to that so far.
So the shoes that I tested were actually an 8.5, which is 0.5 bigger than my size 8 feet. But what I actually found was it was pretty comfortable. I definitely would have gone true to size. There's a little bit of extra space in the front, but it wasn't too bad. And I didn't find them too narrow either. They're actually a very comfortable shoe. So I'd probably stick true to size in these shoes.
So I find in New Balance shoes I'm often a bit up and down on sizing. Like some of them fit me very tight, like the SuperComp Pacer was very tight in my UK 9, and I would actually go half size up in that shoe. But then shoes like the RC Elite 2 and the FuelCell TC fit me brilliantly in a UK size 9. So this is somewhere in between. I think it's closer to the RC Elite and TC. It's got a roomier fit around the toes in particular, and I have been happy in my normal size here. And if it is slightly shorter on my right foot in the toe box than I'd necessarily like, but it's not a problem at all. I'm not getting any rubbing or anything like that. So I think true to size is probably the way to go. So about to head out and do my first run in the New Balance SuperComp Trainer. I'm pretty excited, I won't lie. It's a pretty big shoe. It seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. Used it just to walk around town yesterday and it felt very bouncy. So we're interested to see how it goes and run today. Just doing an hour easy. I did a long, hard run yesterday on Saturday, did a 30k run. So today's just an hour easy to finish off the week. And I'm hoping it's going to be very comfortable and very kind of bouncy and supportive to my tired legs. So I've run about 6k in the shoe so far and they are very bouncy. Yeah, certainly true to say that often with shoes when you first
start the run, you feel the bounce really strongly, you're like, oh, this is nice, but it starts to go away. But yeah, every single step it's noticeable how kind of springy these guys are. So it's been very comfortable rolling along in them so far, just ticking along nicely. Pace is quite high for heart rate and effort level. It's kind of what I expected to see, running an easy pace in the shoes. Does push up the pace a little bit. Like, they certainly are squirrely if you kind of move any way laterally to try and like sidestep around something, then there's a slightly worrying level of wobble maybe. So yeah, taking turns okay, but like a sudden jink to avoid someone on the pavement or something like that feels a bit kind of loose underneath your feet a little bit, but nothing too worrying so far. So finished, did about 14k in the end. Quite tired towards the end, end of another long week of marathon training, but yeah, certainly enjoyed the shoes today. They're definitely very bouncy. They're like the Invincible from Nike, but with like almost another level to them. Well, literally another level to them, another few millimeters of foam and a plate in there as well. So they were buoying me along well, even as my legs got very tired. There are some concerns about the stack, and especially towards the end. So I've got a shuffly start now. I'm not really picking my feet up on an easy run very well, especially towards the end. It's a bit tired, and you've got to be aware where you're putting your feet down in a shoe this tall, I'd say, especially if you're taking turns. And there are times, well, it's my fault, right? If I get out my phone and check my WhatsApp or something like that, I don't pay proper attention to the road. They can be a bit kind of wobbly, so you've got to keep your eye out where you're putting them down, because they're big. Taking corners, you take quite a wide line, that kind of thing. But nothing you wouldn't really expect from a stack of this height. And they're certainly very comfortable, very fun to do a run like that today in. Be a good shoe to eat up a lot of miles. Legs felt quite fresh despite being tired in general by the end, because they are protecting the legs really well. So yeah, fun first outing. Look forward to doing some more miles, and it'll be interesting to see what they're like if you try and push the pace a bit, because if you put a bit more force into that foam in the plate, there should be a lot coming out of it. It might be quite interesting. There's actually one point where there was like a drain cover they're using like roadworks. It's got a little bit of spring in it already, and I stepped onto that in these shoes, and Jesus, it was pretty intense, the bounce you got from both of those together. So yeah, fun first outing. Look forward to doing some more running in them. Very interesting shoe all round.
First run I did in the SuperComp Trainer was a progression run, which ended up being about 13k, starting at relatively base pace and then moving up to my basically marathon race pace, which would be about 4 17-minute kilometers. And I absolutely loved it. It's, as you probably know if you watch the channel, I'm a massive fan of cushion shoes. I love having a load of bouncy squish under my foot when I'm out running, and as you can imagine from the trainer, they do not disappoint. That's exactly what you get from it. But what I do think with this as well is that unlike something like the Nike Invincible 2, which is a shoe predominantly designed to just be comfortable and give you a bit of bounce, this does have a little bit of speed in it as well. And when I was running through that progression run, it did feel like I could pick up the pace nicely on it, and it was limited to a point. I got maybe about 8k in, and I was really struggling to pick up the pace more as the speed progressed. But up until that point, it was pretty good. I was running at a fairly fast pace. I was down to about 4 25-minute kilometers and enjoying it. It felt nice and bouncy. It felt like I was propelled nicely forwards, and I really did find it comfortable on that run. I did. The first 6k or so was a really enjoyable run it's just a fantastic shoe for that cruising pace where you just want to get loads of miles out, and you can still get a relatively alright pace to do that, but it's really focused on comfort. And I did really enjoy that run. I think this is going to be one of the shoes I pick up as my long run cruiser, where I really don't want to go out and I just want to enjoy a run, but at a pace that is complementary to my training. I probably wouldn't use this if I was going out for a really slow run, but maybe at that sort of mid pace where I'm marathon training my long runs. So my early verdict on the New Balance SuperComp Trainer is that it is very nice. I love the FuelCell midsole foam. It's very bouncy, it's very cushioned, it's very enjoyable to wear. It's a fun shoe. It's really enjoyable when you're out on the roads running. It just feels like your feet are bouncing along nicely, but with a lovely bit of propulsion as well from that plate in it. So it's definitely a shoe that I think fits into rotation nicely as a mid-range shoe for those daily training miles that can pretty much do most things. So you could use it for easy day runs, you can use it for your longer, slower runs, but you can also use it for your faster efforts. I'd probably even say this might even go up to maybe tempo training to an extent. It's quite a heavy shoe, so it's probably not the most conducive one if you're trying to go really fast. But if your focus is comfort and training, maybe for a half marathon, maybe for a marathon, but you want something that you can sort of pick up the pace a little bit in, I think it's a great shoe for that. It's a lovely training shoe, probably to go alongside some of the super shoes like maybe the Alpha Fly or something like that, where you've got a shoe that gives you a similar experience to those with the bounce and the cushioning, but is a lot more comfortable and designed for those cruising miles as opposed to running at a faster pace.
So I found it a really interesting shoe after one run. I have to say it really is very clearly pitched as a training shoe and really feels like that on the foot. Whereas I think maybe that's probably a little bit different with the Prime X, which has almost a racy feel to it, even though it is too high for racing. But this is really comfortable, very bouncy, very soft, very protective, but quite heavy. It'll be very interesting to see if you can really pick up the pace in it that much, which obviously you do want from a daily trainer. And I would worry about doing pacier workouts in it if you are taking a lot of corners. So that'll be something I'm keen to test down the line. But I think where it's really going to shine is as a long run cruising shoe at good paces but not all out. And I've got exactly that run this weekend. I've got a 22 miler coming up at a pretty comfortable pace, and I think this is going to be the perfect shoe for it pretty much of anything on the market. So I'm very excited to give it a go on that and see if it does feel amazing at the end of 22 miles, which it did, after a 14k run in it for my first run. It really does take the impact of road running really well, and that's going to be great for people doing a lot of mileage when marathon training, that kind of thing. It's really just a question of if you're running on pretty good roads. So I do think there is some slight stability concerns there, even with all the measures New Balance have taken. And I'm fine with it as a neutral runner, but I think it would be worrying if you're going to be on an even ground, potholey pavements, if you don't have great surfaces near where you run. The other real concern is the mad price. It's so expensive in the UK in particular. £210, go out and buy the Saucony Endorphin Pro, which I think is a fantastic training shoe if you're going to use it as that, even though it is obviously built more as a racing shoe. It's very comfortable, and lighter, faster. Probably will do a lot of the things that this does in a similar way, but while also being a top class racing shoe. But in general, that if you're actually comparing it to daily trainers, that's an insane price. It's a bit different in the US. It's closer to some of the other options out there, but it's going to be 50 quid odd more than the Endorphin Speed 3, that kind of thing, and that's really an aggressive price point here in the UK, and I don't know if it can really live up to that, but we'll see. We'll do some more testing and see if it really is the best daily trainer you can possibly get from any brand. Then maybe the price becomes a bit immaterial, but that is shockingly high for a shoe that isn't a carbon plate racing shoe. It's certainly very interesting, and I was annoyed I couldn't take it out for another run today. I used a different shoe. I actually used the Nike Zoom Fly today, and because I want to get some more miles in that, but really I want it to be in this shoe. So that's a good sign early on. I want to be pulling on and running in it as much as I can. So definitely keen to get out and do some more runs in it and see how it kind of shapes up. Lots more testing to do, and we'll get back to you with our full review and some more detailed comparisons to other shoes down the line. Please do like, subscribe, ring the little bell. Please go and listen to the Run Testers podcast. Second episode should be coming out soon, or has come out. It depends how quickly I edit this video. We're probably going to be talking about this shoe on there because Tom's on it as well. Please like, subscribe, go to the podcast, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.